Oh, what? Oh my god. I've been asleep half naked on the floor for 28 days! I can't believe it. Uh, what's happening in the news? Oh. No. A second plane hit the towers?
Hello everybody, and welcome to the video where I review, talk about, and rank all of the 28 days and weeks and years movies. That's right, but in order to begin, we simply have to start with 28 Days Later from 2002.
They're dead. And you're gonna be next.
Okay, so in order to talk about this movie, there are a few things that I need to mention up front. There will be plenty of spoilers, but also most people categorize these movies as zombie movies or zombie apocalypse movies. Technically, that's not true. It's a virus, it's infection, it's not actually zombies, they're not undead in any way. So when I refer to them, I usually will probably refer to them as infected. So just be aware of that for your own peace of mind. But also for all intents and purposes, this is a zombie franchise. It is a zombie movie. Infection in zombie, they're really basically the same type of movie. It just kind of changes what they actually are or how you kill them sometimes. In these movies, the infected, generally speaking, go down just the same as any humans would. If you shoot a zombie in the heart, it's probably not going to die because a lot of zombies require you to go for the head or something. In this movie, if you shoot an infected in the heart, they're going to go down. Generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies or zombie, I guess, media. It's just never really been a genre that interests me all that much. There are certainly things that I like about this movie, and I will get into that, but the actual, zombie-ness of it all, I don't like it that much. My number one complaint with this movie is that it looks really bad. It's not good looking, which is a shame because I think at its heart, it's a pretty decent, solid movie, and it's probably one of the best quote-unquote zombie movies that I've seen, that I've enjoyed. It's just the problem is that it looks really bad. So if you're going into it hoping for the movie to look good and for it to be a pleasurable viewing experience for your eyeballs, maybe tone down your expectations. Are there wonderful, beautiful shots? Yeah, on occasion, but that's mostly because of the different settings and different set pieces that they use. When Cillian Murphy's character Jim is walking through abandoned London and you see him go over the bridge and there's been Big Ben and the place is totally abandoned, there's litter all over the place. That's great. It looks awesome because the shot and the frame and the setting make it look good. The camera and editing some of the times and all of that sort of stuff, not as much. So yeah, the movie starts with a lab and there are monkeys. The monkeys are being tested on, I guess. They have a virus called the rage virus, and a couple of animal rights type people break in and they let loose the monkeys. And that's a problem because, well, the monkeys have rage virus, so they're basically almost like zombies. If blood or saliva from an infected mixes with yours, you will contract the rage virus. So the monkeys breaking free is a problem because it make more rage infected people. And then the movie kind of actually begins 28 days later, as a little thing tells you, with Cillian Murphy's penis. his whole peanuts. He's in a hospital bed. He's waking up 28 days later. I guess he was in like a bike accident. He hit his head and he was in a coma or something for like 28 days. Now he's waking up and the entire hospital is empty. He has to discover that there's an apocalypse type sort of thing going on right now. So that's good for you, Jim. Congratulations. And so, Jim finds some clothes finally and he starts walking around London and it's abandoned, and he comes across a place, I think it's a church, where there are several infected, and this is where he kind of learns what's really happening right now. And just to be clear, I don't really super love how the infected look. I just do not really like zombie designs that much in general. I think they're okay. It's just not a thing that I personally enjoy, but I do think that the infected are somewhat more unique than various other types of creatures, people in the genre. Like sometimes they're just a little like weirdly jerky and make some silly noises. I mean, yeah, it would be scary in real life, but as me, a viewer, I kind of think that it's a little goofy and a little silly. And then I guess what I'll say from there is that Jim ends up being saved by a couple of people. One of them is a woman named Selena. Jim and Selena are kind of the only characters that I kind of like root for or care about in this movie. They come across like an apartment building where some guy has set up lights to attract survivors, and it's a dude and his daughter Hannah. Hannah is, I don't know, I want to say like maybe around like 13 or 14. That is important later on. The characters are fine. Again, Jim and Selena are kind of like the only two that have like a sort of distinguished personality. The daughter Hannah, she's there for one reason, and that's to be a child that gets put in the situation that she's put in later in the movie. They go on a road trip together because there's a radio station saying that if they go to this certain place, there's like a army camp or whatever type of thing that is looking for survivors, and that they have a cure potentially, like they want to save the world or whatever. And so they go on a road trip. There are some great moments, little moments in between, like the car breaks down under a bridge, and then there is where they go grocery shopping. They hang out like in a field, like by some kind of old cobblestone facade or something. But ultimately, this movie is leading toward one thing, and that one thing is kind of the purpose of this movie, I would say, and ends up being sort of the thesis of this movie. So ultimately, what I like most about this franchise is that it's genuinely about humanity as a whole, and it finds different ways to kind of touch on that in each movie. This one, I think, they do it in a fascinating way that kind of hooks me. So yeah, basically they show up at the camp with the soldiers, and the father ends up getting himself infected in a very stupid way. And then it's just Selena, Jim, and the girl Hannah. The soldiers take them to their place, and they kind of have like maybe one good day there. And then, well, the soldiers reveal, they're all men, by the way. The guy in charge, the general or whatever, promised his men, his boys, that he would bring them women. They got 2 women now, and they intend to, I might have to like censor it in some way, but I also don't want to say like the fake, TikTok safe version of it, because that feels lessening of it. So I'm just going to say the actual word, and I'll probably have to censor it. But they fully intend to rape Selena and Hannah. May I remind you, Hannah is like 13 years old. It's fully disgusting, and it is absolutely abhorrent, and this is the reason this movie exists, I think. For me, as I was watching it, I kind of understood why they decided to make this not just a zombie movie. They decided to make it a virus movie, and they named the virus Rage. Rage is a very human emotion that humans experience every day, and it leads to violence all of the time. That is the point of this movie and kind of the franchise as a whole. The virus, honestly, isn't that special. The point is to draw comparisons between humans that are not infected and infected humans. And the point is saying, oh, so when these soldiers decide they want to rape these two people, you actually understand that these humans who are not infected are worse than the infected rage virus citizens. You are supposed to understand that this is a very human thing that is happening. It's not a good human thing, and it shouldn't be a human thing, but the whole point is calling out the violence of humanity, because Jim and another soldier are like, no, you're not gonna do that. They decide to take them out back and try and kill them. Jim escapes, and then he ends up saving Selena and Hannah. The important thing to me is that they do it in a very specific way. Jim ends up shirtless, and he ends up like covered in blood, and when he eventually gets to one of the soldiers, he ends up killing that soldier in a very brutal way. He like sticks his fingers into the guy's eyes and just gouges them, all while looking like an infected man. And that's another moment where I go, I see what you're doing, movie. You're saying, this is Jim. Notice how he looks like he's infected with rage right now. The virus and rage as an emotion, pretty much the same thing. All the virus does is it makes it so like rage is the only feeling that these people have, right? They are very clearly saying they are not that different. The difference here is that Jim is doing it for a good reason, and the soldiers are absolutely terrible human beings. And there's another point in this movie before things like truly hit the fan where the soldiers, Selena, Hannah, and Jim are kind of having like a dinner conversation or something, and they have a talk about normality and whatever, and I think the general is the one that says it. He talks about how like all of this, like the situation they're in with the infected, the virus being spread, like the apocalypse, this is normal. And then he connects it to like how humans are fighting each other and fighting wars all the time. The whole point of this conversation is to point out that violence is just a part of humanity, and violence is everywhere, and the rage virus, once again, isn't that special because it's just more violence committed by more humans. But anyway, Jim does save Hannah and Selena. It happens in a weird way. Jim like gets hurt or stabbed or something. They crash through a gate, and there's like a weird freeze frame, and then it's another little cut forward in time where he's waking up and he's kind of healed some, and they're putting out little fabric letters on a field. I found this really funny. They spell out hello, and the only reason they do that is so that at some point it can say hell, because why would they not just say help or hi? And then the movie ends with like a plane or whatever theoretically spotting them, and you don't really know what the future is for Jim and the girls. I think 28 Days Later is a pretty good, well, I think it's a mixed bag because I thoroughly really love its meaning, its intention, its purpose, its thesis. I really enjoy certain aspects of it. The end of the movie with the whole soldiers being terrible human beings and whatever basically makes a lot of the beginning section of the movie feel kind of not as important. You need it to have the contrast, but at the same time I kind of go, well, for some reason it still feels unnecessary. That could just be a me thing. It probably is just a me thing. That's how I feel. But overall, despite the movie looking pretty bad, I think it's a great movie, and I think it's a good start to the franchise.
The last infected human died 6 months ago.
All right, and now we have 28 weeks later from 2007. So the primary thing that I noticed about this movie was that it felt a little disjointed. And then when it got to the credits at the end of the movie, I saw that there were 4 fucking writers for this screenplay. And then I said, oh, that's probably why. I will say, once again, this movie doesn't really look that good. It's certainly an improvement over the first movie, but it still doesn't look great. So if you were hoping for the franchise to look good by now, you're not gonna get that. So this movie has a fantastic opening where a father is with his wife. Their children are, I don't know, somewhere else. They were sent to like the United States or something for some reason. So the children have evaded the rage virus because the rage virus is contained to like the island of the United Kingdom. So the opening of the movie is the husband and the wife are chilling out at some old lady's house or something, and then virus people come and the wife is in a room with a child, not her own. The infected come busting through and she screams at her husband to help save her, and he doesn't. He leaves her behind. He abandons her. He makes a break for it and he leaves. And it's a great segment, and it's probably the best moment in the movie. And then we see that 28 weeks later, the infected have basically almost all starved to death, and they are starting to repopulate the United Kingdom. For some reason, the US government is in charge of that. That wouldn't be my first pick. Turns out the husband ended up surviving. He's in charge of a lot of stuff. He's taking care of things. He has an all-access pass to certain things, which he shouldn't. And then his two children are brought back for the repopulation event, and they're basically confined to this one little area where there are guards watching everywhere and whatever. When the children show up, the children know that the wife is dead, but the husband says that he saw her die, which he didn't because he abandoned her, he left her. So the children are sad, and the children want a picture of their mom. The children decide to break out of the little area and go find their house where they used to live and get a picture of their mother. They go there and mommy dearest is there and alive. She did get bitten, but she's immune to the virus theoretically because of her heterochromia, where the two eye colors are different. Her son has that. Her daughter does not. The government shows up. They take the kids back, and then they also take the wife. And this one doctor lady is like, this mother is very important because she is immune to the virus. She has the virus, but she does not have any of the effects. We could study her and use her to find a cure potentially. So there are kind of three main stories going on throughout this movie. Those stories are the husband and wife story, the children's story, and their names are Tammy and Andy, and then also Boyle and Scarlett's story. Scarlett is the doctor lady, and Boyle is one of the American soldiers who is played by Jeremy Renner. And really, once again, kind of like the first movie had like its main thing that it was focusing on and had its whole intended purpose at the end, this movie really has like kind of one main thing that it's going with, and that is with the husband and wife story. The other two stories can honestly get fucked. Tammy and Andy, the two children, they are there. You kind of follow these children for the entire movie and you go, okay, but why did we do that? Because at the end of the day, it didn't even fucking matter. And then the Boyle and Scarlett story also isn't really important because they're focused on the children's story. I like their story more because the acting is really good, but there are still several silly, stupid things that come from it that I'm like, okay. So here's where I kind of derive the purpose of this movie. The husband lied about his wife, seeing his wife die, and so the husband decides to sneak in to see his wife, which he is able to do because he has that all access pass for some reason. And when he finds her, he basically has a little bit of a breakdown. He says something along the lines of, please forgive me, I love you. And then the wife says, I love you, very specifically, and I think intentionally, not saying that she forgives him. And then the husband ends up kissing his wife, who has the virus but is immune to the infects, and then the husband gets the rage virus, and he starts spreading the virus, but he starts by killing the wife. So this is once again where humanity kind of becomes the center focus of the whole thing. I think it is very clever to make it so that this husband kind of goes into this situation where he is kind of like, please forgive me. And then she very clearly does not say that she forgives him. She just says that she loves him. And then he kind of goes to kiss her. And for me, that's kind of saying that he is like, oh, you've forgiven me. Well, let's let be bygone be bygone. I think I just had a stroke. And then he immediately gets infected because of his own stupidity and the fact that like he is kind of ignoring the problem at hand and he's ignoring what he did to her. And then when he kills her, even as an infected person, he has like a flashback to when he left her, and that kind of makes him angry, and that's what prompts him to kill her. It's kind of the movie saying, see how he is killing her because of what he did to her in the past. You don't need to show us the flashback. He's infected with the rage virus. We know he's a killer now at this point, so he could just kill her, but they show us this for a reason, to see that this is kind of what's inciting the violence here. And it happens twice in the movie where he has the same flashback. He has it with his daughter later on, and so he is inciting violence because of a mistake that he had. The way I interpreted that is that he is blaming his wife and other people for something that he did. He gets angry at other people over something that he should be angry at himself for, and he just takes it out on other people. And I think that once again, it's a beautiful display of how humanity works and the violence that we kind of have in our bones and in our souls. I don't think it's necessarily as compelling as the first movie. I think this is kind of a more nuanced take. You have to look deeper to maybe find the reason why he's violent. And then the rest of the movie is just kind of like the kids being juggled around by different people. The US government has been given the go to kill everyone. Jeremy Renner's character decides to not do that because he doesn't want to kill innocent people. Jeremy Renner, aka Doyle, and Scarlett team up together and they both end up helping protect the kids. Part of her reasoning for it is because the mom had the genes that made her immune to the virus, so she recognizes that the kids very well could have that and that they could very well provide a cure for the virus. Both Doyle and Scarlett end up sacrificing themselves in a way to save the children. At the end of the movie, we see that the kids didn't survive anyway, so it doesn't feel like it matters at all. Even if they survived and then they just decide to say like, nope, couldn't find a cure, I'd be like, okay, well at least the kids lived. That doesn't fucking happen though. Doyle ends up pushing a car while he's being gassed and lit on fire. It's a little better than what happens to Scarlett. Scarlett uses his gun, which has like a night vision scope or whatever, and they go into a subway and they're going down some stairs. They trip and fall, and for some fucking reason, both of the kids end up terribly lost and separated from Scarlett. They would end up in relatively the same fucking area, and they're screaming, yelling out to each other, and they don't fucking hear each other? What are you talking about, dude? It's also just bad because it looks bad, like it's that night vision that's kind of whatever. And then Scarlett dies because the infected dad has been like following them, I guess. He, for some reason, has had a couple of moments where he could very well and should have attacked people because he is infected and he would just attack them. But instead, he just kind of is there so that they can get a fun generic scare in the movie. And I don't mean fun. That was sarcasm. But also there are cool moments. When the US government like carpet bombs the area in order to kill the virus once again, we see see it and it looks really good. It's a cool stylized way to do it. There's a point where a helicopter ridiculously like lawn mows this group of infected, and I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous, and I don't think you could do that for real, but also that's awesome. But yeah, the ending, the helicopter guy picks up the children. At the end of the movie, we see two shots. We see that the helicopter crashed and they're dead. Well, we don't see that they're dead, but they're dead. And we see that there are infected in Paris now. The connections that you put together is, okay, helicopter crashed in Paris, which led there to be infections there. The only way that would happen is that the son was not immune to the virus because he gets bit at some point, but he doesn't immediately turn. And he causes the helicopter to crash probably, and then spread the infection in Paris. Why would he only have like temporary immunity to the virus? That doesn't make sense. That's kind of stupid. I don't know why that is the way that it is. It's very much just to set up another movie, but spoiler alert, it doesn't even fucking matter for the next movie. So, you know, whatever. I still enjoyed 28 Weeks Later. It's definitely a more generic version of this franchise, of this movie, of the movies, but it has some fun moments, but it also has some quite a bit worse moments. You know, there's that, and it's time for the next movie.
There's no discharge in the war.
And now we have 28 Years Later from 2025. That's right, it came out this year. Wow, if you don't want spoilers for it, don't watch this section. Anyway, we finally have a 28 blank movie that actually looks good and that I like watching and looking at. It has a few quirks here and there that I don't really love. It's a little dark at times. There are supposed to be some like tense moments, and I'm like, yeah, but I can't fucking see it though. And then it does another thing weirdly where sometimes when people kill infected, it does like this weird like whip pan thing of the shot to show like the other side of the kill. And I'm like, what is this, a fucking video game? What are you doing? It looks stupid. Why would you do that? It's very distracting. This is also probably the first movie in the franchise where I'm actually interested in all of the main characters, which maybe is a little harsh on the others, but it's true. But yeah, I like all of the characters. There's a boy named Spike, his father. There is the boy's mother, whose name is Isla, I believe. Then there is the doctor. There's also another soldier, I guess, but I wouldn't really count him as a main character. They all serve their purpose well, and they are all well acted. The boy, Spike, does a really good job. I think it's his first movie or whatever, and he did a great job. I'm proud of him. And once again, would you believe it? This movie is actually about humanity and violence. Wow, shocker. So the main kind of example of that in this movie is the father. The father is pushing Spike to do things too soon. The father really loves his son, but the love kind of shows itself in a sort of toxic way, right? On this island, there's like a profession where people will go out to the main island and they will go like hunt infected and get firewood and search for food or resources and whatever. And Spike is set up to do this thing because his dad, I guess, does it as well. It's like a one line mention, but they say that like Spike is 2 or 3 years younger than they normally are for this. So you can already see that the dad is pushing him to do stuff earlier than he should. Spike experiences this trip to the main island, which is where the infected are. They're thriving, by the way. They're doing great. Spike is kind of rightfully so not that confident in himself. Like he kills one infected and then he misses on a bunch of the others. When they return back, they have a party to celebrate Spike's first trip and his survival, I guess, or whatever. And at the party, his dad is like really hyping Spike up and be like, he's a giant killer. He didn't miss any shots. And Spike is very uncomfortable. He's like, but I I missed like everything. And it makes him uncomfortable. But then we also see that Spike's father is cheating on his wife. Spoiler alert, his wife is sick and she has cancer. They don't know that yet. She's kind of bedridden. She isn't really able to do much. She has periods of confusion and like where she's not really herself. And the father is cheating on her, and Spike sees this, and it reasonably so makes him very upset. Spike learns that there's a doctor out on the main island and that his dad kind of lied about this and never said that there was a doctor, and hasn't really fully explained the extent of his mom's kind of sickness and whether or not she's going to die. And then Spike decides to take his mom to the main island to find the doctor on his own. He leaves, and then we get the adventure part of the movie where Spike survives and they find the doctor eventually. Another thing that I find very interesting about this movie is that the doctor is kind of mentioned by the dad and at least one other person at the village to be like crazy. And then we see the doctor, and he's arguably the most sane person in the entire movie. He makes this bone temple, which you can see in the trailers and whatever, and it looks like an insane thing to do, but as he explains it, you're like, oh, you're fucking awesome. Basically, this guy has this whole memento mori understanding of life. He tries to remember death, and he tries to remember that everyone will die, and he's kind of built this monument to kind of remember that. He is kind of the point of this movie that I think best amplifies the idea, the thesis of this movie, which is to say that the infected are also human, and that in many ways we as a society have forgotten what it is to be human. So we see that with the doctor, where he mentions that the bones come from both infected and uninfected, and he says that even though they are different in their nature at this point, the bones are the same. To me, that's a very beautiful thing, because it's like, these infected people, they're not monsters. They're not a thing to be hunted and killed for sport, which is what the dad does, which is a great juxtaposition. The dad brings Spike basically on a hunting trip so he can kill his first infected. They were once human. They still technically are, but they were once human. They deserve to be remembered in some way, and they deserve to have feelings of remorse for them. We see it in more ways too. Like, he names the infected, he names the alpha, and he doesn't even kill them. Like, he uses a tranquilizer. Some people I feel like might say, well, he does that because he doesn't have a weapon or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but also, if he tranquilizes the infected, he could then kill them, but he just tranquilizes them and he doesn't actually kill them. And even further to prove the point, this is kind of a story beat that I think a lot of people were upset with. The mother at some point comes across an infected woman who is pregnant and giving birth. She takes the time to help support the infected pregnant lady who is actively in labor and actively giving birth. And I think a lot of people look at that and they go, that's fucking stupid. Why would she do that? My point is, maybe, but also she's sick and she's not of her right mind fully, so that checks out. And then also, why isn't the infected killing her? Because it's giving birth, which I imagine would kind of take over all feelings at that point. I don't think it's that stupid. In fact, it's probably my favorite moment in the movie because it really brings this point home. Look at these two women, one infected, one not, both sharing in each other's humanity. And Isla is remembering that this infected person is human too. So even if it maybe doesn't make the most sense, or if it's a little silly, I don't care, because I think it's really bringing home the point of the movie, which is to say that they are not that different and that we need to remember to be supportive and to take care of each other. And like, yeah, fuck it, dude. Add it to the list of movies where a child has to experience his mom dying of cancer that hits a little too close to home and makes me remember my own life because Spike is 12, I was 11. It's like, okay, well, do we really have to be like that, like on the nose with it? Like, come on now. There's another character, there's a Swedish soldier that shows up at one point. He he adds some genuinely good humor to the movie when it's kind of needed to help break things up. I also like it because he shows us like a very rare glimpse of like what is happening outside of this whole UK being infected and quarantine thing. He has a smartphone, a cell phone, and he shows Spike a picture of his fiance, and his fiance has like Botox or something. Spike is like, why does she look like that? That really got me. But he talks about like having internet and like delivery drivers, like basically like Uber, like DoorDash type of stuff. And I'm like, it's weird to think about humanity outside of this quarantine zone, this whole massive island that is just stuck being the way that they are. And it's weird that after 28 years, they've kind of given up on them. I think that's another kind of interesting thing that's in the background. So yeah, I think I really enjoyed this movie. It helps that it looks good, by the way. I like the different story beats. There are like several moments that kind of jump out as being like more kind of like not necessarily like fitting, but honestly, that doesn't really bother me here. And I think that in a way, it's almost intentional. There's a character Jimmy who shows up at the very end with his weird colorful gang of people that find joy in killing people. It doesn't really fit, but also it's kind of just showing once again that there are groups of people that have taken to killing infected for sport and for enjoyment. It's kind of once again showing that these people are weird for enjoying this process of killing infected people. The editing is really good. There are like dream sequences that I don't fully understand the purpose of, but I like them. And then they cut to like old like footage of like historic human violence and audio like from the trailer, stuff like that, that kind of just proving once again that violence is embedded into human culture. I enjoyed this movie quite a lot. And if you must know, yeah, that alpha was pretty hung, okay? And now it's time to rank these movies. And this may be a little surprising for you. Third place, last place is going to be 28 Weeks Later. It is the most generic of the three. It is kind of the most lackluster, the most boring. There's not as many characters that I truly care about. I like certain aspects of it, of course, and I do enjoy certain things that they do, but ultimately, it's not my favorite. And then in second place, we have 28 Days Later. That's right, I'm actually giving the edge to Years Later. I really love 28 Days Later. I think it looks really bad, but I really enjoy the story. I like the flip, the twist of the soldiers being terrible and being kind of the real villain, the real enemy of the movie. And I like everything that it has to say about humanity and human nature. And I like Cillian Murphy, and I like the girl. I don't know, it just wasn't like the best thing I've ever seen, and I didn't super enjoy it, so it goes in second place. And then first place is 28 Years Later. I definitely really enjoyed watching this, and in case you're worried that it's recency bias, I watched all of these for the first time within a span of 2 days, so don't get your knickers in a twist, okay? No, I just think that this one got me. I really enjoy how it looks. I think it's a beautiful movie. I like the different kind of like steps that it takes, and I like the different sections, and I like that they all connect in a way, and the way that their connections kind of prove a point. And I think that it's a really fun story with some good, just well done movie making, and I'm very excited to see what they do with Bone Temple. But hey, if you liked this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It always takes a lot of work to make these videos, so I would appreciate it. But also, let me know in the comments below. Do you like these movies? What's your favorite movie? Have you seen 28 Years Later? What were your thoughts? And any other things that you could think of. I just like knowing what other people's thoughts are. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!